Okay, we've got off our little airplane. We've got into a vehicle that is going to take us down the road and up the country. And Roger is in charge. Roger will be asking all his questions.
Oops.
Yep.
Yeah, oops, yes. Roger asks very tough questions, Ajesh. So watch out. Roger, over to you.
Well, they are rather, I was listening to your tales. I was listening to your stories throughout the last conversation, and something that you said that your alienation began. It's to Ajesh that your alienation began when you were probably like 12 or 13, and then you discovered Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon, and you discovered Woodstock. So now the thing is, it's a the general conception of people normally that we normally antagonize this alien thing that happens to us. We antagonize it. We try to repel it. But then again, uh, for those people, I just want to ask you this, that uh, the thing that triggered the alien self in you was basically art. You found music, you found poetry, you found books, and there you go. Like, the alien was there and it was feeding on art. So, that was not, I don't think that's very scary. That's very antagonizing, or that's really so bad. So could you tell us about how art contributed to your alienation at that point of time, like when you were young?
Oh boy. I think the thing to remember is that I was reading books far above my age level.
Absolutely, yes.
Right. So what happens when you do that is you're 13, 14 years old, you're reading way above the grade 10 level, which is where you're at. And you're reading all kinds of classics, you're reading all kinds of stuff. What happens is that a lot of these things don't make any sense to you, but you do get a sense that there is a world out there that you are not a part of, that you don't know, that you don't realize. And you really don't have a way to connect with it. You read about it, but you're not in it. You're not there. And it's okay to read the written word and say, oh yeah, that's a good story, or that's a good line, or a good sentence, or whatever it is. But you haven't experienced it. You haven't experienced the situation that is being described in that piece of art or work or whatever it is. So in that regard, I think it's you're actually outside it. You're not inside it. Even though you're immersed in the book, you're not immersed in the experience that the book is trying to sort of
Replicate.
portray, right?
Yeah.
So that is one aspect of it. The other aspect of it is the fact that even if you were to go and visit the place, of you wouldn't get the same experience that somebody else had. And I think that's the key thing to remember with art, is that one person, or any art, that is, whether it's written word or it's painting or music or whatever it is, one person's experience is not going to be the same as somebody else's.
Definitely.
And it's a subjective thing. And I think a lot of people miss that. You see wine, for instance, people say, oh, this is a good wine, because somebody said so. But for me, a $6 wine could be as tasty or as good as a $20 wine. It doesn't matter to me. What matters is to my personal taste and how it felt to me when I drank that wine. And that's the same with art. It's like how I saw it. When you see the Mona Lisa, it's like a thing this tiny, right? It's hidden behind this glass thing, and everybody goes and looks at it, but they don't actually go see it. What they do is they turn their back to it, and in modern days is they're taking selfies with the Mona Lisa behind them. They're never actually looking at the Mona Lisa. Mm-hmm. So what are they actually getting out of it? They're getting the experience of being able to tell people that, hey, I went to the Louvre and I was there, Mona Lisa. And if you look at the room it's in, you've got this little teeny tiny, it is actually pretty tiny, painting on the wall behind the whole glass contraption thing. And on the other side of the wall, the entire wall is taken up with this gigantic painting, which nobody looks at either. So it's a question of like, you're in this room, you've been told that that's a great painting, and you believe it because you've been told that. Is it? Do you really find it, as beautiful as somebody said it is? Or do you have a totally different experience? It's a good painting. It's a great painting. But is it as great as they make it out to be? And I think that's very, very personal.
Exactly. But what I asked was, from the perspective of a little guy, from the perspective of child, from the perspective of a child. At that point of time, probably none of us were, analyzing these things, and we
Nowhere.
were rather imagining that we were actually in those places, or we were actually experiencing those things. And did art help that person? I mean, did art help that guy, that little child, to get through this alienation that was all around him?
I think so in this personal case, what it did was when I read all this stuff, it provided its own form of insulation. I don't want to call it alienation, but it's a kind of insulation as to what was happening around me at that point in time. There were a lot of change afoot, a lot of some movement happening. But what this did for me was to give me an escape room, if you will, kind of a way to just get away from it, shut down some of the noises that were around me, and just lose myself in that. So is it alienation? Probably yes, in the sense that it was alienating, a bit of an alienating experience from the point of view of you're not really involved in what's going on around me. But at the same time, I see it as like a way to insulate yourself from all the changes that are happening inside you and around you.
Right.
And it just helped just forget about all that. The other problem, I think, was the fact that I was alienated because, like I said, I came in 69 when all this Naxalite problems were happening. And I really had no way to step out of the house and go and meet people because, it was like when we first came in at 9 years old, you're told don't go out because it's violence out there. So you don't go out. And then you don't go out for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. You've basically lost the opportunity to make friends at that point in time. And it took, I think in grade 10, when a classmate actually came to the neighborhood and moved in just 5 minutes away from my house. Because he was a classmate, I knew him already. We started walking out to talk to each other, kind of thing. And that kind of got me up. But that was a grade 10. So looking from grade 4 to grade 10, before I actually started stepping out of the house. So that, I think, those 6 years, were they alienating? Probably yes, in the sense that I was alienated from the world around me, from the city that I was growing up in at that point in time. And it kind of, I think, isolated me from all of that chaos around me.
But at that point of time, probably it wasn't that scary that people, people portrayed to be.
Who knows? I didn't go out. I don't know.
Yes, it
No, not the situation outside, but for you in general.
It wasn't
I think
isolated himself from the scariness. But as somebody who went out, I know it really wasn't all that scary.
Yeah, but I think that's the thing. You come in from the outside, and your parents tell you,
and your parents don't want you to get into trouble. So it's exactly that. And despite all this, you managed to get away and see Woodstock.
I did because I thought, what happened was that I had a bunch of older sisters. Everybody's older than me, all of my sisters. And we were all going off to see the thing, and I was underage. It was, marked for adults only. So then I had to borrow my sister's eyebrow pens.
Was it?
Yeah, it was. It was because of that lady, bathing nude in the lake, at the pond. So whatever.
The censors could have just thrown that out, no?
I don't remember seeing it then. I think they did censor it, but it was still considered like, so I had to borrow eyebrow pencil and that kind of, darken my upper lip a little bit.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. And the usher, actually, the guy was checking the tickets at the door. He looked at me and he said, and then he said, yeah, go. So.
Okay, okay. Somehow I always managed to look old. I was large for my age, and I wasn't aware that it was adults only. My mom took me along and happily went trotting along.
Yeah. We didn't really consider those things at that point.
Yes, the lady bathed.
But it helped. I think what it did was it showed. Was that?
A lady had a child also over there.
Yeah. Lots of things happened. Yeah.
There was a lady having a child there.
And someone told me that, that couple on the cover of the album,
yes,
they actually got married.
Yes, they did.
Yes,
And
yes,
and
they
their
did.
pictures much later are getting posted all over the place as an old couple. So, there are some happy stories there.
I'm sure there's some tough ones too. So I'm sure there's all kinds.
And of course, my encounter with Crosby, Stills, and Nash.
Tell them who we are.
That was you. Tell us about your encounter, because now that David Crosby having
gone, yeah.
with all of us. I mean, I don't know. I'm feeling pretty bad about it. Like losing a relative.
Yeah, I don't actually recall the first time I heard Crosby, Stills playing anywhere. For some reason, that memory is not there. Floyd, yes, clearly, Dark Side of the Moon was like a light bulb going out. And I do remember the Grateful Dead. The first song I ever heard was Sugar Magnolia. I do know that. That was on some tape somebody sent me, and I said, like, okay, what the hell is this? So yeah, that I do remember. I do not recall when I first heard Crosby, Stills. It's probably the Deja Vu album, probably, if I'm not mistaken.
Because for me, my memory is Woodstock. And after seeing the movie Woodstock, that song "Long Time Gone" long time coming would haunt me. I mean, that song would keep just playing in my head from time to time, and I really got. I didn't have any opportunities to hear them much. I didn't have siblings who brought in this stuff. My siblings were, of a different musical mindset. So, and they left home also very early. So, like, there's a big age difference. So, I grew up more or less alone, and it's. I just had to discover stuff through the radio, through neighbors, through friends. My neighbor would keep bringing in these records. So I would, he would invite me upstairs to listen. I heard Magna Carta at his place also for the first time. And I suppose he was well-to-do enough to go to the concert, I guess. So
yeah, no, that was a kind of a weird thing. That was the first concert that I almost didn't go to. I did not end up going there because I couldn't raise the cash for the tickets at that point in time.
Do you remember what they cost then?
Was that?
Do you remember the price of the ticket then?
I don't recall. No, it was whatever it was. I was down to
way out of our budget.
I didn't have a single pesa to my name at that point in time. So there was no way I was going to ask anyone for. So yeah, and I think it came at that time. I think in first year of university, when you're really kind of trying to figure out who you are at that point in time. All these new people that you run into from different schools that you run into. And it's a different form of alienation again, because some of your old school friends that you grew up with are gone. They moved on. Though in my case, that didn't really happen because a lot of people, moved back in with us in university. So it wasn't a complete kind of turnaround.
Are you frozen? Is
Yes, I
everyone
think.
frozen? Is everyone frozen?
Uh,
No,
no,
Roger,
I'm not
you're not
frozen.
frozen.
I'm not frozen. No. But I think this disruption is
I
happening
think
again.
Ajesh has to shovel some snow. We have so much, Ajesh and I have so much catching up to do. Like, we haven't met for so long. I mean, when did we last met at my niece's Ashirwad.
Okay, when was it?
Yeah, when he and his wife, that was 1996.
Oh
When
my goodness, that was like
he had come with his wife and his little son. The second one was born then.
27 years ago.
Yes, and I have a very sweet memory of that little boy also, who is now a father himself. So Ajesh is a grandpa. But now he
That's
seems,
sweet. That's actually sweet.
yes, that's sweet. But he calls himself Grandpa Grumps. You find anything grumpy about him?
No, I find him really sweet.
And very cheerful.
Yeah, it is.
And just as crazy as he is, we would ride the train together. We would ride those local trains from Howrah to Rishra. And we would wait for a train called S48, which was a
Okay.
galloping train. And I don't know, is that train still there?
I don't know. Normally, I just go from Uttarpara to Howrah and back. No,
Yes, but how do you go?
there are a lot of trains. I don't. I mean, there are
You
a lot of
don't check
trains.
the number because all of them anyway are going to do the same thing.
Yeah, exactly.
You at Howrah.
Yeah.
But some of these trains would super fast would not stop at Rishra. So we would have to
Okay.
figure out which ones did. Well, this one did. And
Okay.
sometimes we wouldn't get the train, so we would, we wouldn't get the train of our choice and we would find ourselves on the Tarakeshwar local. And
Ah.
the first time when we started going to Rishra, it was the monsoon. And it was
Okay.
that Shravan, those people go,
Yes. Yes.
people
I
carry that
mean,
stuff and
yes, I have been on the train with those people as well when I
yes,
was,
those
I
people,
boarded the Tarokeshwar local
yes, those
once from
people
Howrah
get
to
on
here.
the train and they're very, like they're wet, so they're kind of messy and they spill their
Very.
stuff all over us. We would sometimes find ourselves having no choice but that one. Especially when getting back, we'd be in a hurry to get back. And
Mhm.
where is Ajesh? Yeah, so audience, bear with us. I think Ajesh is having an internet glitch. So we'll be back as soon as he's back.
Absolutely.
Okay.